Welcome to the Brett Davis Podcast.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's great to see everybody out there tonight and in the daytime when the people see the show the next day because they missed it because they were probably dancing and partying, having a great time. But I'm very honored to have somebody that is one of the best at what she ever did in the area of modeling. And I'm sure there's things I'm probably leaving out, but she was the model and still in my mind, top supermodel, an advocate for clean living, Kim Alexis.
Yeah, hello.
Nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, thanks.
We like to do things fresh and not rehearsed, so that way it comes across more natural.
Yep, nothing like live TV. When I started broadcasting, I dove right into live TV with Good Morning America. So you realize I don't like practice anyway, so it makes it easy.
Right. Well, I appreciate your time on your vacation with your husband, taking time to be on this this interview that we've talked about for a while.
Yeah.
So let's talk about. I don't want to get into the old stuff that typically people ask you. How were you discovered to be a model? How did that all work out?
That's what everyone asks me.
Okay, forget it. Next question. Seriously, how were you at an event? Did somebody come up to you and say,
So, you could probably guess all night. So I was a senior in high school. In the fall of my senior year, I was already accepted in the pharmacy program at the University of Rhode Island. I was a competitive swimmer. I've been swimming since I was 6. And so I was already on their swim team. I'd already been to the college, met everybody. I had my life planned. And so this was the fall of my senior year. So I started taking college calculus, trigonometry. I'm swimming 5.5 hours a day. I'm in the band. I'm in youth group, and I was working in a drugstore for $1.98. So I was trying to make extra money, and making $1.98 an hour is not going to get you very far. So someone said, "You're pretty. You kind of look like Sybil Shepherd. You should model." I'm like, "Well, what is that? What do you do?" Because here I am, a tomboy with wet hair. So I was in Buffalo. So back in 1978, or 77, I started a modeling school, and I had to go through the school before I could start with the agency and try and make money. And while I was in the school, feeling like a fish out of water, because I would show up with wet hair and I didn't have all the makeup and I didn't have all the style like these girls. And so I just felt like I didn't belong. And they pulled me out of class one night, and I thought they were kicking me out. And instead they said, "How would you like to work in New York City and be a model?" I said, "No, I'm going to be a pharmacist." And so I turned them down 5 times, I think. And finally they kept saying, "Please let me just take pictures." So I actually just posted the picture as a black and white on Instagram today of my first model shoot. And it's in black and white. And, it's funny because people were recognizing the leather jacket I had on. And it's funny how 45 years later, people still remember clothes and the look and how things change. But anyway, so they took photos. John Casablancas at Elite said, "I'm going to go meet this girl." He flew to Buffalo, and he had to discover a model day. So those same girls that I had been intimidated with in the room thinking that I didn't belong, now I have a contract guaranteed for a year. And John's asking me, "Well, what do you think about all these other girls?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Fine. They look good."
So, first of all, I just, that's an inspiration story for anybody out there listening that they don't feel like they belong or they feel out of place. There's a fine example of how to keep going after your dream, or just going with what comes at you when it's not expected. Because here you are on a career path to be a pharmacist. And then, can you move your camera a little more center? Right there. Perfect.
Sorry.
No, you're perfect. I just wanted to get you centered. And then you ended up taking that opportunity that came. Sometimes we're on a course to go somewhere, and then these opportunities arise, don't they?
Yes. Yes. And I had great parents. They always said, "You can do anything in life you want if you put your mind to it." And so they were very supportive, and they said, "Just give it a try. You can always go back to college next year." So I had my first job immediately in Rome and Paris for Italian Bazaar. Within 4 days, I had my first cover. And then I had national ads immediately. So I started working immediately.
So how tall were you in your senior year of high school?
I've been 5'10" since I was 11 years old.
Me too. I got to 6'2", but I get
Oh,
you.
there you go.
So yeah, right away. I mean, you have the beautiful looks, you have the height, and then you have the poise, and then you end up shooting in Rome.
Yeah. Yep. Not
What an
knowing what
experience.
I was doing.
That was your destiny.
I guess. Well, it was because I went on to do so many other things, like you alluded to earlier, that there's a lot of facets to all of us. And if we want to keep trying things, it's amazing what life can offer.
Okay. So now, I mean, so you decided, and then you ended up getting a contract with There you go, with Revlon.
I don't know why it keeps I'm tipping or whatever.
Well, I had a couple beers before the show, so I wasn't
Oh
sure if it
no.
was you or me. So you got a contract with Revlon.
That was after about 5 years. Yeah.
Okay. You replace Lauren Hutton, correct?
Yes. Yes.
How did you feel about
They
that?
also wanted me to start acting, and well, they wanted me to be her and I was me. So I had to
There you
learn
go.
that I didn't like and want to do some of the things she did.
Yeah, because you had your own personality. We're having some technical difficulties. We're in a cabin in somewhere far
Can you
away.
hear me?
So there you are. There she's back. You're kind of like frozen in time. Are you there? So fascinating story, because what happens is that there she is. There she is again. Wow.
Yeah.
And you fixed your
had to
hair.
go. I had to go walk. Yeah, my hair's super long.
There you go. So I mean, you're sitting down. You look great. You've got even better. That's amazing. It's like
I'm going to keep walking this cabin until I'm close to the internet box now. So hopefully we're good.
you're amazing. So they wanted you to be Lauren Hutton, and you said, "I have to be me."
Right. But they were paying for acting lessons. They paid me for media and voice lessons. And so I took them, but I am so practical that I was not good with acting. I'm like, you wanted me to do what? No, that's not me. So I figured it out. You know, you have to try, but then you figure things out. So I did a little acting, but unlike the actresses who have stolen our covers and national ads and things, I stayed in my lane.
Okay. So actors have gotten into modeling who are actors, and they didn't stay in their lane, and you felt like you should stay in your lane because you were a model, and that's the lane you're supposed to be in.
That's right. That's right.
Are there any successful models that have become pretty good actresses?
Well, Lauren Hutton did work.
Yeah.
Andie MacDowell was one of my contemporaries, and she's wonderful. And she was in Groundhog Day, if you remember.
One of my favorite movies, by the way.
Yeah.
I
So
watch it every time it's on.
So she worked with me a couple times, and she was probably the one that went the farthest. Oh, and Renee Russo, she's wonderful too, and she was in
Oh, yeah.
Lethal Weapon with what was his name? Crazy guy, Mel Gibson, right?
Mel Gibson.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Mel Gibson.
Yeah. So she's wonderful too. She gave me my first bottle of Joy perfume that I still love and wear.
It's one of my wife's favorite actresses, by the way. She
Oh,
was also really good in what was the name of that movie with John Travolta, where he was kind of, what was it called? It wasn't Wise Guy. It was something else. He was kind of he was a collector of money, and then he ended up wanting to do movies in Hollywood. And anyway, good movie.
yeah. Yeah.
But
So she's great too.
well, you've had an extensive career so far. So what is it, out of everything that you've done at this point in your life, what's that one thing you can say, is there one thing you can pick that says, this is really what I love to do, and this is what really resonates with me?
Well, I'm actually crafting shows now. So I love to be in front of the camera. I love to host my own shows. I love to interview other people, pull out what's important to them. And I like doing it in a show format. And so my new, my passion has been clean living. I probably would have transitioned in pharmacy from the pharmaceuticals to a more natural supplemental type way to treat things, and probably got a naturopathic license. I've studied all of it for years. I've just not gotten licenses. So to me, I love anything to do with healthy living and anything to do with being in front of a camera. So combining those two, I'm developing shows now. I'm the executive producer behind the scenes in some, and I'm also developing my own show.
Very good. That was actually supposed to be my background, was natural medicine. And I had actually thought about being a natural doctor at one period of my life. And
Right.
because I've actually manufactured with companies supplements and herbs and products for Sprouts Markets in the old days. But
Okay.
that was a
And Sprouts
passion.
is out of Phoenix, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's where
they
I am.
are.
Yeah.
But I've always loved that the natural approach, as far as the cost to the consumer was more affordable, and you didn't have the side effects that prescriptions a lot of times have.
Right. So, what I talk about with clean living, because I was in marketing, when people market products, they market what the product does for you, whether it's dryer sheets that get rid of the static cling, or scents in the air that stay with you, or the freshness in your clothes that lasts for 12 hours. But instead of what the product does for you, what does the product do to you? What does it do to your health? What is in
Wow.
there that's affecting your health, your hormones, your whatever, the way your body talks to itself?
Do you think there's a reason, that's one of the reasons possibly this country is so high with depression, because of a lot of the chemicals that are getting into the brain?
Yes. And also, I think people, I mean, don't kick me, but I think people get depressed when they focus on themselves. And with our phones and all the selfies, we believe that it's.
We'll be right back with Kim. She's been having some challenges with her phone, but what a fascinating interview so far that we've had with her. And hopefully we can get her back on, and maybe even have another podcast possibly. But um, very interesting life so far, going from planning to be a pharmacist and going to college to being discovered, and then all of a sudden being swept off to go to Rome to do modeling and doing photo shoots, and then eventually taking the place of Lauren Hutton, who was one of the top models of her day. And then she ended up signing with Revlon, which she had a very extensive career for that. What I didn't know was that she was one of the hosts for a period of time with Good Morning America, which in its day was a pretty successful show, and kind of new at the time of that whole thing. And she's lived a very extraordinary life. And we'll give her, see if a couple of minutes, see if we can get her back on. And if not, we'll try to do the podcast another time. But her story is fascinating. So one takeaway from this whole thing is, if anybody doesn't believe that they can do something and they feel like they're being bullied, you can do it. And Kim is a great advocate of, a lot of those people that were in her school. She showed them up, didn't you, Kim? Are you there? I see her waving. She's trying to talk. By the way, Kim, this has never, this has never happened to me. And of
Oh,
course I have people around me that are watching this podcast that are thinking, "Oh my God, does he do his podcast like this all the time?" This is,
I think, I don't know if it's I don't know. I'm like literally feet from the box here and have a strong internet connection. So I don't know what it is.
this has never happened. This is of course, the very first time it's happened, but it's okay. So, clean living is something that, and of course we talked about, um, depression, and we talked about, because this country is known, I mean, for some reason, we have a lot of it in this country. And you think it's a lot of it's the phone. What about the shoes that we get from China, or maybe products that we get from other countries that maybe have a lot of toxins in them?
I I that could easily be, but I think we also focus so much on self, and a good way to get out of some depression, not all, is to volunteer and help other people. And I don't think we've got enough people doing that. If I feel bad, I go out and help someone else, and then I feel better.
Well, the time we came from, there was a very strong push for people to get involved with the Peace Corps. which was originally started by Eunice Shriver's husband, Sergeant Shriver, with JFK. And the Peace Corps was a wonderful thing. It taught people how to, work with people from around the world. But not only that, the message was help other people.
Yes.
And I don't disagree. We have a lot of nonprofits in this country,
Yes.
but isn't it amazing we have so many different challenges that are still going on?
Yes, exactly. I know.
So what do you think the answer is? How do we get people more involved? How do we get them off the couch?
Well, I think awareness helps a little bit. If people can know what I wanted to go and have this great thing on the news for like a minute, like, hi, I'm Kim Alexis, and here's what's happening in Phoenix, Scottsdale area. This week you could volunteer here, and they need people for this and they need people for that. So I think if there's an easy way to say, oh, remember that we need volunteers for whatever, can someone come down and help? I don't know, just an awareness that there's even like old people who are lonely. I mean, there's so many different things that we can do to help others.
I think that's a good point. There's causes, and maybe as part of anybody out there that's doing podcasts or in media, we've always done that with my radio show when I was with ESPN, and then also with Salem Media, and even with the podcast that we're doing now. We've always tried to shine light on causes and situations that would help people and bring people together. Because right now it seems like the world isn't, especially this country, there seems to be a divisiveness. And I don't like it. It's not the way that I was raised, and it's not the way I remember. I remember having friends from many facets and walks of life, and I still do. And we don't agree on everything, but just because we don't agree doesn't mean we can't have a beer or, go for a run or get a workout in or go to dinner.
I remember in high school, I didn't know that there was such a thing as Democrat, Republican, liberal,
Right.
conservative. We
Right.
didn't know, we didn't care. There was no labels, and we just loved everybody for who they were.
Yeah. And they say, okay, well, we don't agree on this, but it doesn't mean we can't be friends.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yep.
As long as you think the way I do, we're not going to have any problems. So, you have a wonderful support system. So your husband and you work together like my wife and I do. And actually a lot of the people that I work around, it's interesting how a lot more husbands and wives and families that I know, maybe it's just because I'm just somehow bringing that to me through thought or just, I don't know, whatever the reason. A lot of families that I work with are all involved together in some type of venture.
Yes. I've got so many irons in the fire now, and I have 3 grown sons and what do you call it? Future daughter-in-law. So I would
Congratulations.
love to have all of them helping and working and spreading just goodness. I mean, you raise them a certain way to be caring and kind and compassionate to other people, and then to be able to have them see their mom and them to flourish doing what they're good at. There's nothing better when you're a mom to see your kids flourish and do what they're good at. So
And to find something that they enjoy.
yes.
So that way they don't have to go to work every day, right?
Right. Well, it's not work. It's whatever.
Right.
Helping.
So you're doing all these wonderful things about clean living. You've got a podcast, correct?
Nope. I just go on everyone else's podcasts, but I'm trying to develop
You need to have your own podcast.
You
talk to us about producing your podcast, Kim.
There you go.
We'd love to help you with that.
Yeah,
I didn't know
I think I need better internet connection. I can't be in this cabin.
We can figure that out once we get going. But I mean, I'm not here to sell you because we're talking about your show. But I mean, just to let you know, we could help you with your podcast. That'd be a good show.
Yeah. Well, I've got great ideas, and it's just a matter of implementing and figuring it all out.
Scottsdale's not that. I used to live in Scottsdale. We're not that far. Yeah, I love Scottsdale. I never planned on coming back to San Diego. Our office is in Coronado Island, which is not bad either. But
yeah. Well, I like San Diego. That's not a bad place.
It's not, but I'll be honest. I like small towns. Maybe it's an old thing with me, but I like knowing. I had this discussion earlier with a friend of my wife, but I like knowing people and knowing where everybody's at. And I don't like all the crowds and everything. It just, for some reason, I was around, it didn't bother me so much when I was younger, but I like the intimacy of having a conversation with people. Yes. And I think in a way the phone has disrupted a lot of that.
Yes, or the young kids can't look people in the eye and have a
Well,
conversation. They do it via phone or whatever those chat things are that they do.
right. Isn't it sad when and you probably have experienced this, when you go to dinner and you see a whole family on their phone at the dinner when they're eating dinner?
Yeah. So I was
Isn't it
driving
terrible?
my middle son. My son's played so many sports. I was always in the car. And I remember one time I got a phone call and my middle son, Bobby's like, Mom, aren't you going to answer that? I said, no. He says, well, why not? And I said, because I'm with you.
There you
And he
go.
says, yeah, but you can answer that. I said, no, no, no. I'm setting a good example. So someday when I'm old in your business, you'll say, oh, Mom, I can get it later. I'd rather be with you.
Correct. I do this. I do the same thing, by the way.
Yeah.
What's really scary is I had a podcast guy on on my show, an interview maybe about a month and a half ago, and he works with the government in DC. And I'm surprised he's talking about all this stuff because I hate to see something happen to him. But he's talking about how in the next 10 years our phones will be gone and we'll have the opportunity of being chipped, so we won't have to use the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't even, we can only deal as we get older with so many new technology things.
I
And
don't want anything in my. Apparently, it's the size of a quarter. The implant have a robot
yeah,
robotically put it into your brain, and it's all done. It could be done in any mall or any location at a very quick pace at a very affordable price. And they'll get
yeah,
celebrities to start using it that are very young and have huge following, and they'll think everybody in the world will think it's the coolest thing. And then other people will say, "I want to get chipped,"
oh
and then
man,
people will be chipped. Will be
yeah,
influenced to do this thing. I personally don't want to do it. He's written some books on it. He's an expert in that area. He was the president of his senior class for West Point, so he's got a lot of insight to a lot of stuff. But going back to what you're doing, because you're very holistic, and I love that. Um, so what's next? I mean, what are you going to develop? I mean, what things are you going to work on with this new podcast that you're going to be doing with us? Sorry.
well, yeah, I mean, I do my Instagram, so I have different topics that I touch on, and it's fun because I just find new ones and I'm like, hey, I want to talk about that. And then people later will be like, wow, I didn't know that. Or I just have always been a big believer in finding new healthy things. And
Mhm.
there's so much to learn. And as we learn, there's more and more to learn. And I've been talking or just studying different people and other herbalists, and I realize I don't know so much, and I really want to learn. So I tickle and bring up different things to people, and then they sometimes come back. Well, did you know this and this and this? So it starts a good conversation. But I'm on the hunt for anything that's healthy and clean, anything that is an alternative. I've written, I think now 11 ebooks. And so it is healthy alternatives in all aspects. So I cook and find different things that I always change
Right.
recipes.
We're just
Always change
talking
your
about
recipes.
cooking. Everybody loves cooking.
Ah,
And it's we were just talking about it a little bit. It's interesting. A lot of parallels in my day to day. A lot of people that have been coming in and out of my life. We've all been talking about the same, and these are just like new people coming into the life, some past people that are still around, and a lot of the same things have been coming up: food, cooking, just a lot of the same similarities of ways to do things better. I can
right.
see you doing your own herbal line, maybe teas, maybe supplements of some kind that are herbally based, that are
Yeah. I'm
really good
working on it.
overall. Yeah, I could see it. I could totally see it.
Yep.
And I see you, of course, doing more lectures, more of those, and also possibly, even maybe doing stuff with makeup. She just left me again. There she is. She's back on.
I'm moving again.
It's okay. So I was saying, I see you doing these supplements. I see you doing. Oh, I saw a leg.
Jeff said, he's like, watch out, because I have these little white shorts on. He's like, don't
Now,
you
was
show
that your leg
everybody.
or was that Justin's leg?
No, that was mine.
Okay. So I see you doing the supplement herbal thing to really help people overall, because there's a huge need for that still. I also see you doing more lectures and seminars like we kind of talked about, because people really want honest information and from people they can trust.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I know. Some people are like on Instagram, they're like, I was going to eat this. And then I thought, I wonder if it's Kim approved. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
I like that. Kim approved.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
see you like a sticker on every item in the United States sold. You're like this
Yeah.
with a sticker of Kim Alexis put on every product before
I'll be
everybody
right
can
next
get
to
to
the
know if it's
organic
okay,
sticker.
right? Is there anything that you would want to share or tell the audience of anything coming up or anything that you want words of wisdom you might want to leave us with, something that maybe is helpful in some way?
Well, I have tons of words of wisdom, and all of the things that I've got, all my irons in the fire are not solidified yet, but I've gone from starting new networks to developing TV shows to working in fashion with universities and museums. So I'm like literally, I would love to also start a model mentorship program.
That'd be
So
phenomenal.
yeah, so the young girls, I think they're getting a lot of bad advice. So I would love to be a mother figure to them. So there's a lot of things in the fire, but I don't have anything solid yet. So in the meantime, I guess any young girl who is, I don't want to see anyone desperate, and they're so desperate to get into some form of business, whether it's online, whether it's whatever it is, that you do something that's stupid. Everything we do comes back to either haunt us or reward us down the line. And you and I both were around before Google ever hit. And my middle son, when he went to college, he came out of the locker room the very first day he went to college, and he'd met all of his teammates. And he says, Mom, they all figured out who you were and they Googled you and they were looking at all the pictures. And he says, thank you for not doing nudes, because I would have fought the whole team. And so what I'm saying is, what you post now, I can't imagine people posting nude pictures, but they do. All that stuff comes back. You think that it's hidden, and it's not. Someone is always watching, whether if you believe in God or not, which I do. Even if no one else is watching, he's watching. So I'm always trying to do what's right, what's good, whether I'm going to get credit for it or not. So young girls, don't be desperate. Always have something else to fall back on. Have a different career, have your education, have a family or support system, something to fall back on.
It's good advice. And so when you got discovered, you never ended up going to college.
I did not.
Isn't that
No.
fact? Well, your path was, I mean, it's worked out really nice for you.
So they asked, possibly, I'm up for the commencement speech when they graduate next year, and they would give me an honorary degree. And I'm like, I really want that.
You know what?
So
It
put in a
counts.
good word.
Who would you do the talk for?
University of Rhode Island.
Very nice.
That's where I was going to go. I love the idea of the New England area, and I grew up in Buffalo, so I thought New England was really cool. Now, of course, I live in the desert, but
Well, Scottsdale is a beautiful place.
yes, yeah. But
One
I
of my
never
favorite.
dreamed of living in the desert before.
No, nobody does until they visit there, and they're like, "This is a really nice place."
Yeah, yeah,
I lived right on
yep.
Camelback Road
Yeah.
years ago, not too far from the Phoenician.
Oh, it's so pretty there.
Isn't that a
Yeah.
beautiful resort?
Yeah. And we have like 120 golf courses.
Right. Yeah, I
Crazy.
mean, probably some of the most in any other city.
Yeah.
So, do you have any charitable events that you are involved with?
I do tons. So I do charity golf events. I've traveled, I think I've done 7 or 8 already this year in 2 months.
Wow.
So I've got a possible one in Buffalo with Jim Kelly. I've got one more in Hershey, Pennsylvania for American Cancer Society. So, and then that'll wrap things up because it starts to get hot to play golf. So,
Unless you get up
um,
like really early in the morning,
yeah, yeah.
real
Yeah.
early.
But I used to skate. I used to do hockey games and be on the ice with a bunch of alumni and do charity games there. I used to play tennis for different charities. So over the years, I mean, my parents, I really listened when they said, if you want to, you could do anything you want as long as you put your mind to it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try everything.
And you have, and you continue to do.
Yes. Yeah.
I appreciate you being on my show.
Well, thank you. And sorry about my internet.
Well, maybe we can do this again in a better situation, but I look forward to collaborating with you on some things, with you and your husband, and seeing how we can make some improvements in the world.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
All right. Have a good night.
Take care. That was Kim Alexis, of course. What an honor to finally get a chance to talk to her. She's doing some wonderful things in the world, There's her website information. And to all my sponsors, thank you for believing in us. Everybody take care and